Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first ever virtual Governor's Awards for Excellence ceremony. I'm Bill Leslie, and it is my honor to be your Master of Ceremonies. As always, the 2020 Governor's Awards for Excellence represent the highest honor a state employee may receive for dedicated service to the state and the people of North Carolina. Today, we celebrate 13 very special employees from 9 agencies and universities. Be prepared to hear some amazing stories about the actions of North Carolina state government employees who have gone above and beyond to serve the people of our great state. Usually, when the ceremony is held in person at the North Carolina Museum of History Auditorium, the State Highway Patrol Honor Guard joins us for the grand tradition of presenting the colors. We missed their participation this year, but it would be my pleasure to perform the national anthem for you. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. At this time, please join me in welcoming Barbara Gibson, Director of the North Carolina Office of State Human Resources, which annually presents the Governor's Awards for Excellence program.
Thank you, Bill, and thank you so much for that beautiful presentation of the national anthem. We're so grateful that you share your musical gift as well as serve as today's MC. The Governor's Awards for Excellence program was created in 1982 to acknowledge and express appreciation to employees for outstanding accomplishments beyond the scope of their normal duties. State employees are nominated for the award by their supervisors and coworkers. This year, we received 422 nominations from agencies and universities across the state. With so many exceptional submissions, it was no easy task for the committee to narrow that field to the 13 employees that we honor today. Each exemplifies the best in public service for their special category within the Governor's Awards for Excellence. At this time, it is my honor to introduce Governor Roy Cooper. A great advocate for public employees, he has provided extraordinary support to our workforce during this challenging period of pandemic. We are especially grateful for the data-driven public health decisions that serve to minimize risk of infection and make our community safer. We're doing our part today by holding this event virtually, and while we cannot see the audience of colleagues, friends, and family, we feel your presence. I believe you will see in our honorees' selfless commitment to the greater good a reflection of Governor Cooper's promise to help all North Carolinians become better educated, healthier, and more prosperous so that they can live more abundant, purposeful lives. Please welcome Governor Roy Cooper.
Thanks, Director Gibson. I am so inspired by this year's Governor's Award for Excellence recipients. Public servants like you, dedicated to improving the lives of North Carolinians. This year, we have 2 very special honorees whose exceptional contributions to our state have earned the highest honor provided by the Governor's Awards for Excellence. The Spirit of North Carolina Award is given to those who exemplify the state motto, esse quam videre, to be rather than to seem. This award has been given to only 2 people since it was established in 1982. This year, the Spirit of North Carolina Award goes to 2 people who dedicated their careers to making our state a better place to live and to work. It's a great pleasure to announce that the Spirit of North Carolina Award goes to Major General Gregory Lusk, recently retired as the leader of the North Carolina National Guard, and Ronnie Condrey, Special Advisor at the North Carolina Office of State Human Resources. Congratulations for this well-deserved honor and for your extraordinary and selfless service. I want to extend my sincere gratitude to all the 2020 Governor's Awards for Excellence honorees. On behalf of the state of North Carolina and its people, thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Governor Cooper. Our next speaker is Joanne Sanford, chair of the State Employees Credit Union Foundation Board, which generously sponsors the annual Governor's Award for Excellence program. Ms. Sanford was elected to the State Employees Credit Union Board of Directors in 2005. She was chair of the North Carolina Utilities Commission for 10 of her 12 years at the commission, and prior to that served for 20 years with the Attorney General's office. She is a graduate of North Carolina State University and the School of Law at UNC Chapel Hill. Please welcome Joanne Sanford.
Good morning. I am Joanne Sanford, chair of the SECU Foundation Board of Directors. What an opportunity it is to congratulate this outstanding group of state employees as they are honored with the Governor's Awards for Excellence for dedication and extraordinary accomplishment. North Carolina's state government employees are dedicated to making a difference in the lives of their fellow citizens and local communities every day. And today's recipients certainly exemplify that deep commitment. Their leadership and excellence in service truly reflect the cooperative spirit of helping others. This is the same people helping people philosophy on which State Employees Credit Union and the SECU Foundation were founded. On behalf of the 2.5 million members who fund SECU Foundation, we offer our heartfelt congratulations. You are an inspiration to us all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This event would not be possible without the support of the State Employees Credit Union, which has been steadfast in its recognition of exceptional state employees. Before we introduce you to the 2020 class of Governor's Award for Excellence honorees, I would like to welcome back Director Gibson for remarks about this recognition program and the 13 career state employees who we will recognize today.
Thank you, Bill. It is one of the true perks of my job to draw well-deserved attention to some of the most remarkable members of our state government workforce. What makes this such a delight is that these are not people who crave the spotlight. The simple fact is they do the work they do because they love their job and the opportunities it presents to serve others and improve their communities. Public service is the perfect fit for our honorees. They thrive in settings where they get to be innovative, to fix things that others said couldn't be fixed, and to lend a hand when a solution seems out of reach, or to rush in where others fear to tread. I think of Governor's Award for Excellence recipients as superheroes for the public good. As I say every year, prepare to be wowed. Their stories will inspire you. Their roles reflect the vast scope of job opportunities in state government, and their example represents our highest aspirations in meeting the needs of people across our state. At times like this, I find myself thinking about the value of public service and what draws people to careers in state government, and it's not always the easiest career choice. State agencies are tasked with making lives better for the people they serve, and often must do so with limited resources. But I believe that's where those committed to their role as public service employees really shine. They are creative, driven thinkers and doers who are used to being accountable to each other and the people of our state. Driven state employees dig deep, innovating solutions with teamwork, ingenuity, and sheer force of will. The determination to serve, to put others first, is the characteristic that most defines the public service employees attending this event as our honorees today. The 13 individuals that we honor today with the Governor's Awards for Excellence weren't thinking about being celebrated when they performed their work, whether in a moment of urgency or consistently across the course of a long career. Nonetheless, their greatness is why we are gathered today. They demonstrate how, as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. famously said, everyone can be great because everyone can serve. North Carolina is a better place because of their passion for public service and commitment to improving quality of life for everyone who calls our great state home. I'm going to turn the program back to Bill Leslie, who will introduce you to our 2020 Governor's Awards for Excellence recipients. Let me just say to each of our honorees, you exemplify the best of public service. Your selfless commitment to improving the well-being of all North Carolinians is nothing short of inspiring. I am proud to serve with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gibson. It is my honor and a true privilege to tell you about these outstanding state employees and play a video produced by their agency to help you get to know them better. In the category of customer service, we honor Michelle Gordon of North Carolina Central University. We usually associate libraries with silence, a place to sit quietly and read a book or study. But the impact that Michelle Gordon has had on students at North Carolina Central University School of Law is one that cannot be silenced. Let's watch the video now of Michelle Gordon.
My name is Michelle Gordon. I'm a library technician at North Carolina Central School of Law Library. I've been here at North Carolina Central for about 15 years now. I've always kind of tinkered around with watches. I have a drafting technology background, and I've always been interested in watches. My father had watches when I was a kid, and I've always been fascinated with watches and anything that's mechanically inclined. So I would buy these watches, and I always wanted to know how they worked. So I would wind up taking them apart and putting them back together. I've been collecting watches for over 20 years now, and it got to the point where my collection grew too large. That's a Frederick Constant, and then that one there, I gave that one to one of my students. That's a Tag Heuer.
Part of what she does is, she's done this for a number of years now, is that she gifts watches.
Since I interact with so many students every day, sometimes it's kind of hard to decide what students to give watches to. But I usually give anywhere from 30 to 40, sometimes 50 watches a year. I started getting watches anonymously from different companies. They would send me watches. When I'm kind of running low on watches, I've also subscribed to a watch company called Watch Gang, and they've been pretty good about giving me good watches to give to students. I decided on giving watches to students because I know that they can't take cell phones into the courtroom. It's a professional gift that that will last for years. It also helps to remember their years at North Carolina Central School of Law. It's interesting because after I talk to so many students years after they graduate, they always remind me of the watch that they got, and then they usually started collecting watches themselves. I think the watch kind of ties into North Carolina Central School of Law. I'm passing on a kind of like a dying art of watch collecting, and I guess I'm kind of secretly trying to get them to start collections too.
For efficiency and innovation, we honor Ozzie Stallworth, Department of the Secretary of State. Some say that timing is everything. In the case of Ozzie Stallworth, that saying is certainly true. His work on the state's e-closing system completely changed the mortgage closing process for homeowners and came at a time when technology would be relied on more than ever. Let's watch the story now of Ozzie Stallworth.
Ozzie's easy to be around with. He's just a delightful person, and with his tenacity and his intellect, he was just perfect for visualizing and bringing this project home.
Secretary Marshall has long had a vision where we would have seamless government services. So the blueprint, what that incorporates is the Secretary of State's office going to the legislature, making sure that we had laws passed that would allow for electronic signatures, electronic notarization, and electronic recording. The next item of business was to take this to the various stakeholders within the industry. And now you're talking about the mortgage lenders. You're talking about the bankers and attorneys, the real estate attorneys, and the realtors. And these are the ones who are literally going to take these tools and start to frame the house. And so all these things combined together help to construct not only the foundation, but the infrastructure that allows us to see a community of houses that are being purchased and sold through electronic means.
It was super simple. I mean, we rolled in, I got my cup of coffee, I signed once, I did my initials, and we just started to click through the paperwork. I remember coming in and we got started, and I think the process of signing took 19 minutes. I had my keys in like 46 minutes and we were out the door.
This is absolutely a win-win-win for everybody. It's a win for the purchasers. It is a win for the banking industry. It is a win for government.
The future is extremely bright for electronic mortgage closings. We're just at the tip of the iceberg, and we're truly going to see the revolution of the entire mortgage industry.
Big ideas can come from small agency. So can big achievements.
For excellence in human relations, we honor Toy Lambeth, Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. With 500 developed acres, the North Carolina Zoo is the world's largest natural habitat zoo. It counts on the support of more than 1,600 volunteers annually. And they're all led by one person. Toy Lambeth's vision, hard work, and innovation has turned a once fledgling volunteer program into a well-oiled machine. The story now of Toy Lambeth.
Toy is the kind of person who cares more about others than she does about herself and goes out of her way to make sure that people who are volunteering at the zoo have an amazing experience.
She put me exactly where I needed to be and helped me get to know people, and she was like, you're gonna come volunteer, you're gonna meet all these people, and I feel like I can do anything. It's really opened me up. So she's definitely changed my life for the better.
She is very articulate in saying and making sure that every volunteer knows if you're not having fun at the zoo isn't having fun having you here.
Once you meet Toy, that's somebody that you're going to know for a long time and you're going to want to know for a long time. She's very genuine. And I've seen some of these volunteers, and as well as people who work here at the zoo, that'll go through personal tragedy or hardship. And Toy is one of the first people that'll be there for you.
When she started, it was a pretty small program. Under her leadership, she's really transformed it. She's created a huge variety of different kinds of volunteer opportunities for people, everything from welcoming guests when they come into the zoo to volunteering at our wildlife rehab center to even things like helping with planting plants and cleaning up around the zoo and painting around the zoo, all kinds of things like that. One of the things Toy does an excellent job of is recognizing volunteers. The annual volunteer banquet where awards are given and so on is really one of the highlights of the year for the volunteer community at the zoo. And we had a long-term volunteer who has made a number of really significant contributions to the zoo. He was having some health problems. She was undergoing chemotherapy, and so she had some concerns about whether or not being around a big group of people like that during her treatment was a good idea. But Toy, in recognizing her desire to be there, but having these concerns, created a separate table for her, made sure that it was spaced apart enough that she could feel safe, but without kind of excluding her or without putting her off in the corner, somewhere, so she could feel part of the experience and participate, but without having to feel like she's somehow kept apart from the rest of her fellow volunteers.
I think it is critical to get to know volunteers on a very personal basis, talking with them in a way that allows them to communicate back to me who they are, what they like, what motivates them, what they hope to gain from this experience. I also like to cater specifically to what people's needs are and try to find something that's really going to match their skill set, or even something that's going to challenge them and bring out something new in them that perhaps they didn't even know existed. And when people appreciate you and value you as a person, it only makes you want to do more.
We have 3 recipients in the category of Outstanding Government Service. First, we honor Ted Campbell, Department of Environmental Quality. Last year, the state of North Carolina oversaw the largest coal ash cleanup in the country. This positive action for both the health of the state's people and the environment wouldn't have been possible without Ted Campbell. His work with the Department of Environmental Quality also served to protect wildlife and vital natural resources across the state. Let's watch the video now of Ted Campbell.
There was no Ted Campbell in DEQ. The historic DEQ Duke Energy settlement agreement that resulted in the largest coal ash cleanup in the country may not have been achieved.
I have understood that the work I'm doing is very important to putting together the technical case for this effort to ensure that Duke cleans up the sites in an appropriate way.
Ted provided pivotal expertise in a series of coal ash litigation cases.
Ted's contribution was critical. He again possessed the knowledge of technical skills that very few people have, the knowledge of statistics, hydrogeochemistry, and overall hydrogeology. There's a very unique combination that applied itself towards understanding these very large and complicated sites.
Ted was able to take the groundwater modeling that Duke's experts had put together. It was extraordinarily complex, and he was able to use it, to deploy it effectively, to understand what was happening at the sites.
The part of this coal ash work that stands out the most to me has been, in part, to help the department and the division really understand what it is that we're receiving.
The integrity of his work ethic, I've seen it year after year. It's been very challenging, not just with the scientific piece, but also been able to communicate those findings to managers, to the public, and of course, participation in depositions and litigation.
I have consistently been impressed with Ted's reservoir of knowledge, his expertise, his desire to get to the best technical response, as well as his patience and generosity with his time in explaining these issues to me.
He's dedicated and believes in what he does and believes in the mission and the importance of the work that he does.
Having a solid team around me has been totally valuable and important, and really a key part of this whole process. So it's just really been a great experience to be part of.
Next, we honor Simone Chessa, Broughton Hospital, Department of Health and Human Services. You know, COVID-19 has caused death, sickness, and economic uncertainty around the globe. But the pandemic has also brought out some of the best in people. Simone Chessa, a social worker at Broughton Hospital, is living proof of that. Her ability to identify and meet a critical need in the early stages of the pandemic has made a profound difference for those who need help to communicate. Let's watch the story now of Simone Chessa.
I took a sewing class in high school. Later on in life, I got involved with this quilting group, and it was like just this act of love. And so now I'm working here, and I'm starting to do this because a patient liked it. We even started a 2020 quilt. What's your take on 2020? How do you feel about it? What's your hope?
And COVID hits, and the restrictions of COVID hits. There was a huge emotional impact of the COVID mask on the deaf unit patients and myself. I am deaf and I read lips, and all of a sudden you take took the lip reading away, and I was completely isolated. I knew that my patients were going through the same thing.
We got to come up with a solution. What are we going to do? And I saw something on social media. The masks with the clear vinyl windows in them. I'm thinking, well, there's an idea. Simone Chessa, she's a quilter. She knows how to sew. I'll just take it to her.
And so it was a process. I would work at it from home, and I would send video or pictures of what I was creating to folks that work with the deaf unit. It was about a 3-4 week span of time where it would just evolve.
This was evenings, nights, early mornings, weekends. Simone is thinking about this project.
I feel like, if you're gonna serve others, serve them well. And that's my gift.
This piece of fabric and plastic pulled all these people together and continues to do that. She dedicated herself and her time and her energy to come up with a solution to this problem as quickly as she could, because it does make a difference. And if that's not outstanding service, then I don't know what is.
And our third honoree in the category of Outstanding Government Service is Rodney Parker, Department of Public Safety. What happens when a natural disaster seemingly wipes away something precious and priceless? For Special Agent Rodney Parker of the North Carolina Alcohol Law Enforcement Division, the experience meant having the opportunity to give back to a former United States Marine. Here's the story now of Rodney Parker.
This was Hurricane Florence. We were in the New Bern area. There was so much water, and I've never seen an impact of the amount of water that was pushed in and just totally devastated these homes.
As the days progress, you start seeing mounds of things where they're just trying to clean up and hit the reset button, if you will.
They lost pretty much everything. The only thing they had left were their lives and a shell of a home.
I remember seeing this particular item, which the first thing that caught me was the American flag. My dad's a vet, so I have pretty, the flag means a lot to me. And so all day it kind of bothered me. I was like, man, I just cannot believe that shadow box and all that's out on that pile. And towards the end of the shift, I said, I'm going to go back. I want to go get that. And so I asked him if I could have it, and he looked at me like, what are you going to do with it? I said, I would like to get it redone and bring it back to you. Put it in my police car, and that was my task that I wanted to get done.
It was getting close to Christmas. He was excited. He hopped out of his car and he said, let me show you what the finished product. Let me show you this, how this turned out.
So the shadow box was the American flag, some awards he had from Afghanistan, his whole tour. Just memorialized his retirement. It was a retirement piece that was given to him. And I later found out that his wife had one piece made, but his unit had the other one made.
He did not want the recognition. Matter of fact, when we first discussed this, he said, I'm gonna show you something, but don't put me in for any awards.
I'm not looking for awards or any of attention. It's just, hey, I'm real proud of this and really excited about coming back for the holidays to give it back.
We also have multiple honorees in the category of public service. First, we honor Angela Clark, Department of Public Safety. Working with at-risk youth can be difficult and taxing, but for Angie Clark, her commitment to helping others is what distinguishes her service. And that is especially true when it comes to people who find themselves down on their luck. Let's watch the video now for Angela Clark.
My name's Angie Clark, and I'm an administrative associate too here at DPS. I'm a former transporter, youth transporter.
She, for years, was transporting our youth, and so I knew of her and had always been told by staff how helpful she was.
It was emotional, but it was, I would say, a little bit of saving grace every day, because having an emotional outlet for those kids, even just for one person to believe in them, about them, trust in them, and let them know that it's all going to be okay in the end. We all make mistakes. That is definitely an emotional part of it. So you have to invest your emotions with their emotions. I have volunteered many hours at the soup kitchen. We have paid off student lunch debts. We've raised funds for a lady who needed a kidney. I help many people who are battling addiction, including children. I am a Sunday school teacher / kids youth director, so it's just planting those little seeds, letting them know that somebody's here, somebody's going to be able to help them, and we're going to help them through this thing called life.
She's a helper. She's somebody that's not going to just be content and sitting around. She's going to be working.
If you have time, give it, because life is short, but also there is always somebody out here that's dealing with something you know nothing about.
If there were 48 hours in the day, Angie would squeeze at least 50 or 52 out of it in a heartbeat.
So it's not about my crown, it's about picking them up and helping adjust theirs. I guess that's the reward. I don't want anything out of it.
We also honor Dr. Ann Dickerson, East Carolina University. Earning a driver's license is seen as a rite of passage for most teenagers. But some groups with special needs can be overlooked for this milestone. Enter Dr. Ann Dickerson, who has created a program for teens with autism spectrum disorders to prepare them for life behind the wheel. Let's watch the video now for Ann Dickerson.
It seems scary at first, but once you get somebody to show you how to do it, it's a lot easier than it really is.
When I was younger, that a lot of people said I wanted to be able to do a lot of things. Even though you're autistic or have certain disabilities, you can still drive. It just takes a bit longer to figure out than most people.
The driving and community boot camp for teens and young adults with autism spectrum disorder, part of it was my son with high-level autism. I taught him how to drive, and it is a challenge. And we decided to do this boot camp so that we could give them a step up beyond driver's ed.
It's a very fun program, very interactive. You get to learn lots of cool skills.
Simulation driving, it was really fun to do.
How you doing today?
What to do if we get pulled over.
Ann will be honest with you. She will tell you if she thinks they need to try to get their driver's license and if they don't need to try. She's very straightforward.
And if they can't drive, need to learn how to get around their community without driving.
She really helped take me through things and how to understand them.
You have to have somebody that will encourage you and give you that strength and help you build on what you have.
I like the diplomas part because it kind of helped me feel a bit better about myself and how I am with driving.
It has been the greatest thing. He's been happy. He feels that independence, something that a child on the spectrum needs, and try to make a life for themselves.
I'll give this boot camp a 10 out of 10.
I'm doing DoorDash right now. It is a food delivery service.
And when I heard about DoorDash, I thought that was amazing. I really believe it wouldn't have been possible except for the boot camp. The confidence that that boot camp gave him and knowing what to do when something happens.
He's had an accident. Someone hit him in the rear. He made sure the person behind him was okay. Then he went back to his car and he waited for the police to get there. He talked with the policeman and everything was fine.
When I heard Timmy was in an accident and he knew what to do, that was really the best. Hearing that I made a difference when somebody is in that kind of traumatic, scary situation. What happens when that car...
I think Ann is a gift. I think this award is not only well-deserved, it is overdue.
I was so excited. I thought there's no one more deserving than Ann Dickerson for this award.
The passion that she has for this is phenomenal.
I really love my job. That's why I love doing the boot camp, because I make a difference in someone's life. Having someone come and say thank you for helping my child. There is no better feeling.
Thanks to Ann, this program can spread throughout the country, and I truly hope it does.
We're writing a manual so we can share it with other places and build it beyond just Greenville, North Carolina. Everybody deserves a chance.
Now to the category of safety and heroism, and we salute 3 state employees in that category. First, honoring Trooper Alex Shehately, Department of Public Safety. Members of the North Carolina State Highway Patrol routinely safeguard others from dangerous traffic incidents and prevent crime on our roadways. Sometimes those heroes perform acts that go well above and beyond the call of duty. For Trooper Shehately, an act of heroism in April saved 3 lives. Let's watch the story now of Trooper Alex Shehatley.
I go by Alex, but my name is Ali Abbas Shehatley. I'm the first Arabic on the highway patrol. I've been on 15 years.
Alex is very personable. He's very kind, very giving spirit.
So we were heading north on 220, and I noticed a silver Honda Accord. And at first, I was thinking, is that headlights? So I swerved over to miss. I turn around and I'm chasing the guy, and I'm side by side blowing my horn, and I'm looking at him.
And Alex was off duty. He wasn't even working when this happened.
This Jeep comes in and hits him head on, and then it just picks both of them up and just slings both cars.
Well, he clearly was instrumental in saving 2 lives on this date. The gentleman was trapped in a vehicle that was on fire and progressively getting worse.
And I open up the passenger door, and I could see a female in there. So I grab her and I pull her out.
Alex directed one individual to stand with a fire extinguisher and try to keep things calm while he got him out.
So I dive in the car, in the window, and I bear hug him.
The man's leg was trapped under the dash, and Alex pretty much had to get up in the vehicle and pull him out, physically pull him out, and they fell to the ground.
Well, he lost most of his teeth. His leg, they did attach it back, and he's having to learn how to walk again. It's like I told him when I saw him and his mother, I don't feel like a hero. I don't, I'm sure he would have done the same thing.
I think a true hero really doesn't look to be a hero. They react when a situation presents itself.
But I think most people would do what I did.
Next, we honor Assistant Special Agent in Charge Bomb Squad Commander Timothy Looper, State Bureau of Investigation, Department of Public Safety. Saving someone's life is an inherently heroic act, but it's even more heroic when doing so at the risk of your own safety. For Special Agent Looper of the SBI, a potentially tragic situation was avoided thanks to his efforts. Let's watch the video for Special Agent in Charge Bomb Squad Commander Timothy Looper.
We got a call to go assist Sampson County Sheriff's Department, who had conducted a traffic stop. During the course of that traffic stop, they discovered what they observed to be an explosive device and rendered the scene safe. Based on the subject involved, we got a search warrant and discovered a number of explosive hazards in the suspect's residence.
Every single time they have a call, there's some aspect of the call that is going to potentially put their lives in danger.
We were able to render a number of the explosive hazards at that scene safe, and in the process, 2 chemicals got together and caused an explosion in which myself and Brian Joy, my partner, were burned and injured.
Self-preservation was probably, the first instinct, I guess, that kicked in.
I picked myself up, assessed my own injuries, and then I immediately started calling out for Brian to make sure he was okay.
Tim was probably the first person that, came to my aid. And he was injured too. It wasn't, he was involved in the explosion and he was injured. And when they loaded me onto the ambulance, they asked me if I wanted anyone to come. And I was like, can Tim come? And, got in the ambulance. They didn't touch Tim Looper in the ambulance. They were working on me that whole ride, and they didn't even look at him until after they put me on the helicopter.
Tim doesn't like the spotlight, and he certainly doesn't want to take full responsibility for being the hero that day when he feels like there were so many other agencies and heroes on the scene.
It's an honor to be able to accept an award on behalf of all the folks that worked as a team that day.
And our third honoree in the category of safety and heroism is Captain Steve Bullens, North Carolina Wildlife Resources Commission. Being off duty for Captain Bullens usually means just that, time away from work. But while at home on a January evening, the 16-year veteran of the Wildlife Resources Commission Law Enforcement Division found himself faced with a life or death decision. Let's watch the video now for Captain Steve Bullens.
So Captain Bullens was nominated for this award because one evening when he was off duty, he actually heard a very loud noise that, as a wildlife officer, he thought it was a gunshot, and he assumed that someone was taking deer unlawfully at night. So being the dedicated law enforcement officer that he is, he put his uniform on and he went out to investigate the situation. And when he did not locate anyone poaching deer, he began to just kind of search the area. It was a rural agricultural area, and he located a motor vehicle that had actually run off the road and been involved in an accident and had an injured person in it, and as I understand it, was leaking fuel with a very near possibility of catching on fire.
From that point, went up to ask the individual that it was his decision. Did he want me to try to get him out, because I knew that he had some medical issues from broken bones. I told him that the gas was pouring from the vehicle and explained to him that it was not a good situation to be in. But if he could handle the pain, I would get him out of that vehicle, and that's pretty much the extent of it. I drug him out of the vehicle.
Public service is not just a job to Captain Bullens, it is who he is. Captain Bullens, again, was off and could have just as easily called 911 and say, I heard something, can you check it out? But that's not what he did. He got dressed, he put his uniform on, and he reacted like a law enforcement officer, and he went out there and he ended up saving someone's life.
And now, in the special final category of Spirit of North Carolina Award, we have two honorees. First, we honor Ronnie Condrey, Office of State Human Resources. Mentor, friend, bridge builder. These are some of the special titles that come to mind when state leaders and human resources professionals describe their humble colleague, Ronnie Condrey. His impact on state employees, agencies, and the people they serve over his more than 46-year career in state government is immeasurable. But it's his love for the people of his home state that truly defines him. Ladies and gentlemen, the story now of Ronnie Condrey.
I've always been proud to be from North Carolina, have always tried to make North Carolina a better place, do my little part to help out and helping things along, whether in state government, civic life, in the community in which I live with my friends. I think we all want to try to make things a little bit better. So it is quite an honor to be given the Spirit of North Carolina Award, in large part because I'm so proud of being from North Carolina.
People get involved in state government service for a lot of different reasons. Ronnie's reason is the purest and I think probably rarest of all, and that is that he just loves the state of North Carolina. And being a public servant is the best way for him to show that love day in and day out.
He believes in the mission of state government, which is that we're here to serve the people of North Carolina. He truly believes that in his heart, and his work shows that. And he inspires other people to do that as well. That's one of the best things about Ronnie, is that he brings out the best in everybody else that he's working with.
Ronnie was my boss at the Department of Insurance for almost 30 years. He's always been very thorough, very thoughtful. He likes to consider the implications of anything. And quite often he would drive us crazy doing that. He would laugh and say, this may be more than you wanted to know, and sometimes it was more than we wanted to know, but it was most often what we needed to know.
I remember the first time I met Ronnie Condrey, and we were up in the office, and he said, come here, I want to show you something. And he's showing me these different people who have worked in the Office of State Human Resources and the different people who have worked for the state of North Carolina, and he starts telling me these stories or narratives about these people and the important work they had done, and how every state employee has that story of what they've done to be able to help their state. And that's how Ronnie really, if I can use that expression, really pulled me in. And it's his ability to tell these wonderful and very genuine narratives that really opens you up and immediately makes you feel comfortable, at ease, and makes you love being around Ronnie.
I've known Ronnie since 1993. He was the HR director at the Department of Insurance when I met him. I was what was then called the State Personnel Director, now the State Human Resources Director. And we faced a number of challenges. We renovated the system by which we hired people. We had a number of hurricanes. All those posed a number of new challenges to the human resource system. They seem sort of minute compared to what we face today, but they were huge challenges, and obviously they were controversial challenges. You had to face and deal with your workforce in a way that they could remain effective, but you also had to apply the rules and the law appropriately. Ronnie was always good at coming over, talking through issues for his department and having solutions at the time that he came to talk them over. And those solutions were very practical. Not only were they practical in terms of the human resource policy, but they were very practical in terms of how to address the real needs of his people.
Ronnie is kind of one of those behind the scenes guys, so he works on anything that he knows is meaningful and helpful to managers, HR people, and all the employees. So he will figure out what matters most today, and then he'll just work on it. He'll call everybody he needs to call. He will help everybody that needs help with it. And a lot of the policies and just the general working conditions that we have in state government over the past 40 some years, he won't want me to dwell on that. But a lot of those are really because of a lot of the work that he's done in the HR director meetings that we've had over the million years we've been together. He asks so many questions and he stays on stuff, and really it makes it a better place to work in state government. He's amazing.
And last, but certainly not least, we honor Major General Greg Lusk, who is retired from the North Carolina National Guard. Leading people is never an easy task, especially when faced with crisis situations. But for the past 40 years, Major General Greg Lusk has made it part of his life's work to prepare for and help in the face of disaster. The now retired Adjutant General of the North Carolina Guard, advising the Department of Public Safety, he helped lead the state's response to natural disasters and social unrest. Let's watch the video now of Major General Greg Lusk.
General Lusk is the quintessential leader because of his high moral character. And he not only exhibits that, he's day to day now, but he's exhibited that throughout his entire career. And he's also expected that of those around him.
I didn't ever anticipate being an adjutant general. Got offered the opportunity, and so I did. I committed myself to it, but also it wasn't very long into it that I realized, I said, this is one fleeting opportunity that I have to try to make things better for all those that are serving.
So I think the legacy of General Lusk is the people that he mentored and brought up underneath of him, and will continue with what his vision was.
Let's do everything that we can to make life easier and better and more conducive for those young men and women that volunteer to serve.
North Carolina is better because of the service of General Lusk. Not only because of his service, because in this important role as the Adjutant General, he didn't build followers, he built leaders. And those leaders are carrying on his legacy today.
I grew to realize, throughout nearly 40 years of military time now, that, the most valuable, most important resource in the North Carolina National Guard are the individual soldiers, the individual airmen that stand in formation every single drill weekend, that put their name on the line and answer that call, whether it be for hurricane, for relief, or any other emergency throughout the state, by order of the governor to going overseas.
I am extremely grateful that the governor has recognized General Lusk for this award. To give 40 years of your life in service to our state and to our country is just truly extraordinary. And he hasn't just been there, he has led. And in his leading of troops, whether it's to serve our national interest abroad or right here at home with domestic deployments, he has always been a quintessential leader, and there is a dynamic tie-in between the Department of Public Safety and the National Guard, both for domestic deployments and our support of the Guard in general as they take on missions around the world.
What would General Lusk say about winning this award? Well, I mean, I'm sure he never gave it any thought at all.
Well, first of all, it's absolute total surprise. Absolutely not expecting it at all. So humbled by it, particularly as I've learned how rare the Spirit of Carolina award has been.
He has never been somebody who has particularly sought the limelight, and so it kind of fits into that his role is really the embodiment of a calling. He was called into this service, and he was called to lead as a part of his service.
We do our job because it's the job, it's the calling, it's the obligation that we have, not because we're trying to advance ourselves. And I think that probably has proven itself out more often than, at least I hope so.
But I know that he punched me in the arm and said, "Hey, a little bird told me that you wrote me up for this award." And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I thought you deserved it, so I took the opportunity and wrote it up.
There's no higher honor that I could really think of than beyond the recognition of a person who genuinely cares for everybody that they come in direct contact with and whomever they may impact around the world.
I think General Lusk would retire, but I think his wife would put him to work at the hardware store, and I'm pretty sure that's what he's trying to avoid.
Please join me now in congratulating all of today's honorees. They are passionate about what they do and an inspiration to all of us. They know how to create and foster an environment where our citizens feel valued, engaged, and included. This concludes our virtual Governor's Awards for Excellence ceremony. I want to thank each of you for attending and being a part of this special presentation.